Okay, so setting up equations in Google Docs. We would do this inside a document, a word processing document. So I'm going to create a new one of those by clicking Create New Document. It took its time, but here we go. And then a placeholder for my equation, I'm just going to have a table that's two columns by one row. Just insert that like that. And the reason for that is that I'm going to put the equation number in the second column of the table and the equation itself in the first column. And we can edit the positioning of everything a little later on. To actually put the equation in, I'm going to insert an equation, and up comes this equation editor. And you see this little blue box here. When I'm inside that, I'm typing an equation. And I'm just going to type in one of the equations of motion, and that should give us most of the functionality that we're actually going to use in this equation editor. So one of our equations of motion is that x equals, and then I want subscript because I want x sub 0 for that initial position as my next thing. So I go to this box here where I've got all the different subscript, superscript, square roots and so on, and I want x with a subscript. So I click on that and nothing seems to happen, but there are two invisible placeholders waiting for my x and the subscript 0. So I hit the letter x and then I hit the right arrow, and you'll see how the cursor shrinks. It goes down into the subscript. I hit the 0 and I get my subscript 0, and then I hit the right arrow again to move on to the next part of the equation. Now the cursor goes right into the middle of the equals sign, but don't worry about that. It sorts itself out as it goes along. When I hit plus for my next term in the equation, it's all sorted out. The next term in this equation is v sub 0, so I do the same thing again. I want x sub with a subscript, so I click on it, and now it's going to be v, and then right arrow to go to the subscript part, sub 0, right arrow again to get out of it, and then this is going to be multiplied by t, so I type t. And I just keep going. Next I'm going to add the next term in the equation, so it's plus. And if you remember your equations of motion, you should know what's coming next. It's 1/2 at squared, so I need a fraction, a over b. You can just see it's moved up now, so it's waiting for me to put in the numerator. I just type it in. I click right arrow again to move to the next part of the equation. It takes me to the denominator, a half. I click right arrow again to move on to type in the next term in my equation. Again, the cursor comes up in a strange place, but we don't worry about that. When I type a, it sorts itself out. And then the final thing is the t squared. So now, going up there again, I'm going to pick out a superscript, x to the power b there. And that's going to be t, and then right arrow to go to the superscript part, squared. And I'm done. I've got a nice little equation. The last thing I want to do is just format this. I would rather have my equation centered in the box rather than on the left hand side. I probably want, if I move this over, I want to move the number way over to the right hand side by adjusting the table like so. Probably have that centered as well rather than to the left. And the last thing I can do, and you might want to leave this to the very end, is get rid of the boxes. All you have to do then, go under Table, Table Properties, and we can change the border color to be the same as the background color, and our border disappears. And now we have a nicely formatted equation on the page.